Okay, so what is a Nazarite? When I type it in online or YouTube, if you do that, you're gonna find all types of things. People from all types of backgrounds with different views and different thoughts on what a Nazarite is and who can be a Nazarite and all of these things. You hear all of these different thoughts, and so I wanted to give what I have learned so far. I'm not the final thought of the matter. I'm not the final voice in this. In what is a Nazarite, Yah is the final say and the final voice in all things Torah. But it is my journey that I want to share and hopefully be able to encourage others to do what Yah is calling them to do. Not to encourage others to take a Nazarite vow. That is not my goal. But if you are being led to do that and to walk down what I consider this ancient path, then seek Yah about it, and hopefully my journey will also enhance yours and encourage you. I felt very early on, actually back in 2015-16, I came out with an album. I was making music for a little while, and this music album is about the vow of the, or not about the vow of the Nazarite. This one song in it is kind of about me feeling called to take a Nazarite vow, but not really knowing all of the... I didn't even know that was what I was saying until back in December of 2020. My friend was like, remember that song? And she sent it to me, and because I had just started talking about taking my Nazarite vow. And I listened to it, and I was like, what? I said that I was a Nazarite in that song. So that experience, that reminder, I believe Yah sometimes puts those little seeds in our hearts, and they come back to us at the right time. That experience, that situation, that song, and then having a friend bring it back to me was like, whoa, this is an incredible sign in a lot of ways, and reminder also. It wasn't just out of the blue. It was something that I literally spoke. And here I am in 2021. That was almost 5 years ago, or 5, maybe more, that I wrote that, and I finally actually took a Nazarite vow, and I'm so glad that I did now and not then, because then I was still figuring out a lot of things. I was still trying to understand a lot of things. Now I have a much better understanding. I'm in a much better place that, yes, now I could take a Nazarite vow and be confident in the fact that I wasn't just taking a vow flippantly. It was because now was the time. And it's so important when we do things that the Most High speaks to us, but we are not quick to jump the gun on His timing. So we get promises, but we also know that there's timing for the fulfillment of all of our promises. So, what is a Nazarite? When we look at the term Nazir is the term that we actually see. It's not, in Hebrew it doesn't say Nazarite, it says Nazir. So, we've heard this term before. We've heard this name used before. We have friends and family, especially in the black community, in the black American community, we say, we name our kids Nazir. We know the rapper Nas, right? I have a young lady that I used to mentor. Her name is Natsira, and that actually is the female term for Nazarite. Natsira is the Hebrew for a female Nazarite. I've had people kind of along the way ask questions about, well, can a woman be a Nazarite? We have to go back to the Torah for all of our answers, right? So a lot of times people think of Nazarite and they think of Samson. Absolutely, Samson was a Nazarite. But who was a Nazarite before Samson? His mother was a Nazarite. We have Manoah's wife, where the angel of Yah came to Manoah's wife, and she's a nameless woman in the Bible, but he came to her, told her that she was going to have a son, and that she needed to begin to walk in what would be considered the Nazarite vow, and she had to not drink, and she had to not cut her hair, and she had to not drink vinegar. She prepared herself for her son, who was going to be a Nazarite. And the angel came back to her another time, and then she went and talked to her husband and said, hey, come on, the angel of Yah is here. And then they go and they go see this malak, or the malak, or the angel of Elohim. So we see that situation. We also see Samuel, who was Samuel's mother, Hannah. She vowed to Yah, actually, and she asked him for a son, and then she dedicated her son to the temple of Yahuwah. So we see these instances, but the main thing that I went back to before I took my Nazarite vow, because I had a lot of questions and I had challenges along the way where people challenged me. Are you sure that you want to take a Nazarite vow? Do you know that when you take a vow, a nader, to Yah, then you have to pay that vow. You have to follow through. You can't step back and just say, well, I'm done. You can't just step away from something like this. This is very serious. And the Bible speaks of it's better to not take a vow than to take one almost flippantly. You have to be very serious about your vow. And so I took a lot of time studying and figuring out if this was something that Yah had for me to do. And in my book that I'm writing right now, I'm editing and writing some more portions of it. I'm almost done, but it's taking me a little bit longer than expected, but at the same time, it was necessary for the time that it's taking. So I praise Yah for that. So I'm able to really work some things out as I write. And my writing is about the journey. It's about from the beginning of this walk as a Nazarite to where I'm at now. And it's literally only been 7 months, so it hasn't been a long time. This is something that is fresh, that I'm writing as I experience it. It's called Notes of a Nazarite because it is literally my notes that I'm writing down. They're the challenges that I've come across, the questions that I've had, and the verses that I have studied and continue to study to try to figure it out as I go back to the Hebrew language and look up, what does this mean? What is vinegar? What is a strong drink? What is yayin, which is wine? What is shakar, which is drink or strong drink? What are these things what is chametz? We see chametz when we talk about unleavened bread. So is that included? And I'm trying to figure all of these things out to make sure that I do the call to the best of my ability. Before I get to number 6, a story just came to my mind of when I was graduating with my in grad school, and I had a professor. His name was Dr. Corbett, an amazing man, still a friend of mine. He rewarded me with the Thesis of Distinction Award, and when he did this dedication to me, he gave me a few gifts, and he told me a story about a tribe in Africa that he had worked with, and in this tribe they all had shaved heads, and they tried to keep the word of Yah to the best of their ability with the knowledge that they had. They were very ancient in their practices, antiquated, you could say. And I thought of that because I said, well, maybe he saw me where I am now. Maybe he saw the me that I am now. Maybe he saw that in me before I saw it in myself. I went back and I looked at the video of when he was giving me this award, and it reminded me of where I am now. My shaved head is a sign of my covenant, of not just a sign of my covenant, of my failure even. I had to shave my head recently because I had failed, and but it also is a sign of my dedication to getting this right and trying to figure it out. The Netzir, the term that we see in the Bible for Nazarite, it also is conjugated as Natsar, okay? And like I said, for a female Nazarite, it would be Natsarah. We see this term, I was doing a book club study. We were going over the book of Exodus, in Exodus 29, I believe, verse 6. So, Exodus 29, verse 6, it speaks about the priest and how they were crowned, and it gives the crown as Natsir. Natsir is the term, or that conjugation, I believe it was Netzer. But that term is actually used as your crown, but also your crown, you see, but also your consecration. It's used as a sign of consecration. You see that term as set apart. So in Numbers 6, when it says, when a man or a woman a man or a woman, wants to take a vow or decides to take a vow of the Nazarite, decides to set themselves apart from the set apart, in a sense. We are a holy nation, a royal priesthood, a tribe of priests, a nation of priests. And so the Nazarite is deciding, okay, I want to take a step further in my walk. I want to be set apart of the set apart. I want to seek Yah further. I want to know Yah more. It's just a decision that Nazarite makes. The Nazarite, actually, when you look at the laws of the Nazarite, it says that the Nazarite is not to drink wine or strong drink, and also not to have vinegar or fermentation of wine and fermentation of strong drink. When we look at some of these laws, the fact that the Nazarite cannot be amongst the dead, it could be his mother, his father, her sister, her brother. No matter who it is, the Nazarite says, I'm going to set myself apart, even to that extent where if someone dies in my vicinity, in my tent or in my home, then I'll have to start over. It says that basically the consecration has been defiled. The head of the consecration has been defiled, and so you shave your hair again, and then it says the days of the consecration have been lost, in a sense, and you start over. And we see some of these laws. The only time we see some of these laws is with the high priest. We know that when the high priest was given the order and told, and at the time, at the beginning, it was Aaron. When the high priest was given the law, he was not to come near any dead body. Whereas the priests, they could come near the dead. They could come near the dead with stipulations. And all of Israel could come near the dead. And they would be unclean for a certain amount of time, and then they go through a cleansing process. Well, the Nazarite and the high priest could not do that. They couldn't come near the dead. Otherwise, their consecration would be defiled. And they would have the priest would have different rules. The Nazarite would have to go through a process of sacrifice and shaving their head, and then coming back into their covenant with Yah, their vow, their nader. When you make a vow, when you make a nader with Yah, you should not do it flippantly. I think that is so key. I've had a lot of people ask me questions about taking a vow or making a covenant with Yah. You don't do it loosely. You take your time and you figure out what am I asking for? What do I desire? What do I need right now in this vow, and why? Why am I taking this vow? In my previous video, I actually read my vow on camera for you all to kind of see and understand why I took my vow. I have some very clear direction, clear paths that I want to go down and to figure out. And so I took my Nazarite vow, for one, because I was out of obedience. I felt like that was Yah speaking to me to take a Nazarite vow, and I felt it strong. When it was something that I was so opposite of what I would want to do, and Yah was like, no, I need you to do this now. And it was a humbling experience for me at the beginning, and still is, to be in the space where he's like, I'm directing your path, and I'm literally going to be a light upon your path, and you may not see more than the few steps in front of you, but keep walking and I'll show you more. And so that's been my journey with this vow, with this Nazarite walk. I'm not taking it just so that it could be something cool that I do, something for identity. No, it's something that has been very difficult in sometimes and very challenging. I mean, when you go to eat some food, you go to a restaurant, you go to eat, and you're asking them, well, does this have this in it? And does this have this in it? And well, I can't have this. And so I get to the point where I'm just like, can I have salted vegetables, grilled vegetables with just a little salt on top and some rice? And I try to keep it really simple when I'm out eating, because it can become very complex. And so you don't take the vow loosely. You take it seriously. You come to Yah with your sacrifice. You're saying, Yah, I'm willing to sacrifice to get what you have for me. And that's really been my heart. That's really what I've been asking Yah. Show me your way. Show me what you have for me. Give me direction. Show me the path that you have in front of me. Be a light to the steps that are in front of me so that I can walk the path to your redemption, to your wholeness, to your healing that you have for me. And not only for me, but for my people. When one person, they call it in Hebrew, it's called Nakun HaNefesh. When you have the healing of your soul, it leads to Tikkun HaOlam, to the wholeness, to everything, to the world around us. You begin to, when you're healed and you're whole, then you can begin to, that light spreads, and it spreads to the world around us. And so that is my desire. That has been my desire, taking my Nazarite vow. And for me, it was that Nazarite vow. For someone else, it may be a different path that they have to walk. But my encouraging factor in this video is do what Yah is calling you to do. Whatever that is, seek Him and ask Him for direction and purpose. And in my good friend's book, Fulda Dawid, she has a book called The Gifts. And in that, and we're actually going through that on Patreon, and I'll be running the book club weekly on Wednesdays, 5 p.m. Pacific time. Just a shameless plug, go to patreon.com/Royal Roots, and you can join us for the book club. But in her book, she says that we need to ask for wisdom, right? So we need to be asking Yah for wisdom, and then we need to ask Yah for the giftings that He has given us, that we need to fulfill our purpose. And that's when it comes to my prayer with the Nazarite vow, those are core things to fulfilling my Nazarite vow. It says that the Nazarite can take the vow for whatever amount of time Yah places on their heart. So you take that vow, and it could be, when you look it up, a lot of commentaries say that typically it was 30 days. Some people have lifelong Nazarite vows like Samson. But it varies. And so those are some of the core things of what a Nazarite is. A Nazarite is set apart unto Yah. Their life is set apart. One thing that I really want to drive and dig in with is that the Nazarite was at a space where the priest could not drink before they went into the temple, right? But the Nazarite can't drink just in general. The high priest could not come to a dead body. The Nazarite could not come to a dead body. The priest was preparing to be able to be used by Yah within the temple. One conclusion that Yah has shown me in my journey of taking my Nazarite vow is that the Nazarite was supposed to be a function, like a constantly ready, consistently ready to be used by Yah at any point, at any time, cleansing their inner body, keeping themselves pure, so that when Yah was ready, He could use them at any point, just as He used the priest in the temple, the high priest in the temple. And I think that the Nazarite is a great example of the Ruach, what Hamashiach, what Messiah, Yehoshua Hamashiach, promised us that the Ruach would come and rest and reside inside of us. The Nazarite in the Old Testament showed us that example of being an open, clean vessel so that the Ruach could reside inside of us and we could be used at any point. Whenever Yah says, okay, now I need to use you, you don't have to get ready, you stay ready. Shalom.